Welcome back to Sportscall, everyone. Brett Pritchard, Randy Lee, and Andy Graham here on a beautiful Friday afternoon. We hope you're enjoying it. Hope you're going to get out and enjoy some high school football tonight. We want to continue to take your phone calls a little bit later on in the program. But here in segment 3, the Sportscall Hotline segment of our show now, we want to welcome in Bryan Matthews from Auburn Undercover. Bryan, thanks for being on the program this afternoon.
Oh, it's great to be back in, guys. How are y'all doing?
Man, we're doing great. The weather cleared up. It's beautiful outside. And, again, Auburn obviously will be traveling up to Fayetteville, Arkansas tomorrow, 5 o'clock kickoff for the Razorbacks. Since Arkansas has been in the conference, Bryan, they have been a team that we have had our difficulties with. We've got basically a 500 record with them since inception of the conference, 10 wins, 10 losses, and a tie, of course. We actually hold a one-game lead overall, but that game came back in '84 in the Liberty Bowl. But this Arkansas team isn't the normal Arkansas teams of the past, but we do have to go on the road. There are some questions about definitely Nick Marshall there. So let's start right there, Bryan. What are you hearing about Nick Marshall's status for tomorrow?
Well, I think Gus Malzahn's being straight when he says that Nick is a game-time decision. And I don't think we'll know for sure who the starter is until shortly before kickoff Saturday at Razorback Stadium. But, my best guess is it will be Nick Marshall. He's been limited in practice this week, as far as that shoulder injury. But he's healed up pretty good over the course of the season when he's been nicked up and bruised up. So I have a feeling he's going to be there ready to go. He's a gamer.
Is Jeremy Johnson, they have a game plan specifically designed, do you imagine, for him in this game?
Well, they've sort of prepared for him to be the starter all week, because Nick was limited in practice. They've got Jeremy ready. And, they'll do a lot of the same things, but I think when Jeremy's in the game, he's more of a pocket-type passer. Doesn't mean he's not athletic enough, which he is, to do the zone reads and to roll out and do the other stuff. But I think the game plan would shift a little bit with Jeremy in the game, but not a whole lot.
Well, not that this game needed any more storylines with Gus Malzahn and Red Lashley and Tim Horton all being from Arkansas, but now Brett Bielema has seemingly called out Auburn or Gus Malzahn as kind of his nemesis. What do you make of that?
Well, I thought it was just silly that he would do that Monday at his press conference. It was really made a big issue out of something that really wasn't an issue, and it's normally handled behind the scenes. I don't know how often there's an incident with the tapes each week, but I imagine it happens, fairly regularly around the league, and it's usually handled behind the scenes, and nobody hears about it. But he brought it up. He brought Gus Malzahn's name into it, and Gus, to his credit, didn't say much about it other than he's going to act with integrity, and when he finds out something, he's going to get to the bottom of it, and he's going to let the SEC handle it, and I believe that's what happened.
Bryan, let's talk about this matchup tomorrow. Again, Auburn at 7-1, Arkansas at 3-5. Obviously, Arkansas would love nothing more than to derail what Auburn has put together so far this season and kind of right their ship a little bit. And I think that's why Brett Bielema is trying to just stir as much stuff up as he can, because he knows Gus Malzahn is from the state of Arkansas and in the high school Hall of Fame there, and he's got a lot of people that may have wished he would have been the head coach at Arkansas instead of coming back to Auburn.
Mm-hmm.
But so he's trying to kind of, I guess, deflect some of the talk of how bad their football team is really right now. But Auburn's got to go up and to me and do exactly what they've been doing, and that's run the football against a very porous Russian defense, and Arkansas is ranked 11th in the conference.
They are. And, you look at this Arkansas team, they are sort of desperate, I think, right now to get a big win for the program, for the season, for Brett Bielema in his first, season there. So they've had 2 weeks to get ready. I'm sure they'll have some new wrinkles for Auburn, and Auburn's going to have to adjust. People don't need to panic early on if Arkansas has success on both sides of the ball. That happens a lot. But I do like that advantage Auburn has rushing the ball. I'm sure Arkansas will try to do some things to slow down that running game. But I still think Auburn's going to find a way to run the ball, whether it's between the tackles with Trey Mason, outside the tackles with Corey Grant or Nick Marshall. However they're going to do it, they're going to find a way to run the ball.
Sammy Coates has been a bright spot in the receiving core. He's really had a great year to this point. Jeremy Johnson obviously loves to find him on the field. He's a big playmaker. We knew that was the case when he got to Auburn. We knew he had potential, but he's really starting to show what kind of a big play receiver he can be, Bryan.
Yeah, and, I give a lot of credit to Damon Craig because he has really done a great job with this group. Sammy Coates is a guy that's always had that great potential, but now you're seeing him realize that he leads the nation right now in average per catch. I think it's over 25 yards per catch, and that's a huge number. With you think about all those great receivers out there, we saw a pretty darn good one at Texas A&M and Mike Evans. So I think that says a lot about this offense, about the work Sammy's put in and the job his coaches, including Damon Craig, have done with him. And he's what this offense really needed was that big play component at the receiver position. It opens everything else up, and when teams start walking those safeties up, boom, they can hit Sammy over the top. We saw him against LSU beat double coverage twice down the field in the second half. So a big part of this offense is Sammy Coates, and it seems like he's just sort of hitting his stride right now, starting to really become even more consistent with the big plays.
Yeah, it's good to have that deep threat, and Sammy Coates, definitely that for this Auburn offense. Bryan, a couple more questions before we let you go. The NCAA changing a little bit of the rules on recruiting. Talk about those for just a second.
Well, I like the moves they made, and they did a better job this time in consulting coaches and the people actually involved with these rules, on a daily basis. And, I like that they've stretched out the dead period in the winter. It gives coaches time to handle bowl practice and bowl games without having to worry about recruiting at the same time. That can be a huge problem for teams like that. And then the 2 weeks in the summer I thought was big too, because there's so much competition now. Summer and spring recruiting has gotten so much more important with kids visiting all the time, and you give everybody the same 2 weeks off. Those coaches will enjoy spending some time with their families. That's really big. And the other things. Being able to feed more members of the family, that just makes more sense. Not everybody just comes with their parents. They come with little brothers or sisters or whatever on visits. So I think overall it was a really good move by the NCAA.
And one last question for you, Bryan. Obviously, Josh Casher this past weekend was a lot of talk on the message boards and whatnot. He ends up committing to Alabama on Monday. Kind of fill us in on what went down this weekend if you have some info.
Well, he came up to the game with his parents, and, I think he was ready to commit to Auburn, but Auburn didn't feel comfortable in accepting that commitment yet. I think they had some conditions on there that he wasn't able to meet all those, to the extent that Auburn wanted him to. So they held off, and Alabama jumped in there and decided they wanted to go ahead and give him a firm offer, and, now he's committed to Alabama. So, they picked up a very athletic, very smart young man to play center, and, Auburn, as far as that position, they've already got one commitment, Xavier Dampier, the junior college player, and they're still looking at a couple other offensive linemen out there, although that's never been a big priority in this class.
And any other news on any other guys that might be near a commitment, Bryan, out there, or some guys that Auburn's hot on right now?
Well, I don't know that anybody's really close to doing anything right now. I think, a guy locally to keep a close eye on is Stephen Roberts, the cornerback at Opelika. He's been to every one of Auburn's home games so far this year. He's coming to Alabama right now, but Auburn has really done a great job spending time with him and his family, and just really, I think they're starting to feel a little confident they have a real chance to flip him at some point. And we'll see what another local product, Rashawn Evans, ends up doing. It's Auburn, Georgia, UCLA, Alabama. I wouldn't be surprised if he picked any four of those schools. He's really been very open during that process so far.
Well, good stuff, Bryan. Again, we want to thank you for being on the program this afternoon, taking some time out, and we look forward to having you on again soon.
Sounds great. Enjoyed it, and look forward to seeing a good game here Saturday.
Yeah, same here, Bryan. Thank you so much, buddy.
All right, thank you.
All right, that's Bryan Matthews there with Auburn Undercover, and always does a great job, Andy, with some insider info there. And that's what I'd been hearing, too. Wanted to hear it from Bryan, but Josh Casher tried, I heard, 3 times to commit this weekend, and Auburn just was not ready to accept it. Maybe smelled something there. I don't know.
Yeah, obviously things are different now. It's a different Auburn program now under Gus Malzahn, and maybe this was a statement. I don't know. Obviously he committed to Auburn months and months ago, and then took it back. So maybe Auburn's a little gun shy, and rightly so. You don't. Auburn's pretty. What am I trying to say? Auburn is pretty adamant about you keeping your word.
Well, and you got to, and it's no secret. Auburn's been burned not too long ago, so you gotta think about that, and they know that's in the back. And you know what? Maybe that's a message that colleges start sending to a lot of these players. Andy, you decommit from us. When you come back again, it's almost like the boy that cried wolf. Or are you going to decommit again? Because if you did it once, you're probably pretty apt to do it again.
Well, it's one thing to do it for a 3-star. It's another thing to do it for a 5-star.
That's right.
We'll see how that works out, but I think you're right. I think that's a good point.
It is. 888-9-TIGER-9, 334-887-3401. Locally, we'll be here with you till 6 o'clock today, and we want to take your calls. Again, we want to thank Bryan Matthews there for being on the program. Stay tuned. More of this Friday edition of Sports Call coming your way right after this.